guys, Fortune Voyager here with Jackalmen Games, bringing you a quick Let's Talk video about the brand new Rules Reference Guide update, along with the new Spark of Hope Holocron update that just recently came out. There's not a whole lot to go through, but there were a couple of pretty big important things to mention, so let's go ahead and get started and see what all we can find out. So first things first, we'll start off with the Holocrons. One thing happened across all three, which was Spark of Hope was added into all the Infinite, the Standard, and the Trilogy Holocron documents as playable cards. But then there was also the big addition of a restricted list. So for a long time now, Destiny has needed an extra way to help kind of power balance some cards that aren't super strong outside of specific combos. So the restricted list allows the developers of the game to be able to do just that. I'm not really sure how much I personally like the idea behind how they have it set up currently, but we'll get into that as we show it off here. So this right here is from the Infinite format, a Holocron. It looks the same across all three outside of what all is inside of the restricted list. So I'll just go through that really quickly as well. So in the Trilogy restricted list, all that you have currently is C-3PO and Military Camp. So those two were added to the restricted list basically to stop the C-3PO and R2-D2 Military Camp Faithful Companions combo. For those that haven't heard about it yet, it is a combo that basically lets you start off with 4 resources while your opponent starts off with 0. So that combo is still a thing that can happen through the use of events in your deck, but now it's not an auto win as soon as you win the roll-off with the character pairings with that deck. So that is everything for the Trilogy restricted list. In Standard, you have C-3PO, you have Military Camp, you also have Order 66 and Rebel Trader. So Order 66 and Rebel Trader were added to stop a combo where you would wait for your opponent to activate one of their 2 characters in a 2-wide list. You'd activate Rebel Trader immediately after, forcing them to activate their second character. Then you'd play Order 66 and remove all 4 of their character dice, dealing 4 damage and effectively locking them out of being able to do anything. So it's pretty good that you're not able to do that anymore. I feel like that's a pretty big negative play experience, so I'm happy to see it on the list. Sorry for knocking the table. And then finally, in Infinite, you have the 4 cards listed before, as well as the addition of Mean Streets, Hyperspace Jump, and Retreat. So basically, those being added to the restricted list means that it stops the Infinite Lockout combo deck that we were seeing at Infinite GQs. Basically playing cards that don't damage when you claimed the battlefield, claiming Mean Streets, and playing Hyperspace and Retreats over and over again, just immediately ending every turn and dealing damage until you won. So everything on the restricted list are all things that definitely should be on there and stopped from being played together. It does mean, the way that they did it, that some things are going to be a little weird. For instance, you can't play Rebel Trader with Military Camp now, even though that's not really a combo that was ever done. But since they both happen to be on the list, you can't play them now ever. So right now, it's not really that big of an issue. But if the restricted list ever gets a lot bigger, like say we add another 9 or 10 cards to it, you're going to have a lot to keep track of when you're building decks now. Basically, the way that it works is you can have a single restricted card in your deck out of the entire list. So if I played 1 C-3PO, I couldn't have any of the other cards. So yeah, kind of hit or miss with me on the restricted list. I like the idea behind it, and I guess we'll really just have to wait and see how it turns out in the end. So that was pretty much everything on the Holocrons. We'll go ahead and move over to the meat of this, which is going to be the rules reference. So right at the start, they give you the little bit of information on what all's changed. We got some changes to the definitions of uniqueness. We got an updated setup, some updated errata and clarifications, as well as an addition to the dice abilities and some updated terms. So we'll just go ahead and go through those one by one really quick, starting off with the Uniqueness page. So This one was really quick, just a quick update that a player cannot have more than one copy of a unique card in play at the same time. There cannot be more than one copy of a unique character on a team, and a player cannot play a unique support or unique upgrade if they already have another copy of that card, including a character in play. The including a character in red being the new addition. So basically what that means, now that there are supports that share the same name as characters, such as R2-D2 and C3PO, now it is just in the RRG that you cannot play the supports at the same time as the characters. Down here, the next red mark is if a player ever controls more than one copy of a unique card, they must immediately discard one of those cards from play. If it is a character, it is defeated instead. So that addition specifically affects cards such as the new Talisman of Resurrection. So Talisman of Resurrection, for those that don't know it, allows you to spend resources equal to the point cost of a defeated character to bring him back under control on your side of the field. So say for instance that you have an R2 down somehow, and because this is a villain card, but examples, let's go with it. You have an R2 on your side of the field and you've killed an opponent's R2 C3PO, or defeated it. You could, theoretically, with Talisman of Resurrection, bring the opponent's R2 back to life on your side of the field, but you would then have to choose to either discard the support or the character. And if it's the character, it is considered defeated, instead of discarded. Alright, so next up, we've got an update to how the game starts. So with Spark of Hope, they introduced new diceless characters. For example, if you were to somehow go up against a team of only Hoth Troopers and you had a team of only Nightsister zombies, neither of you would have dice, so you would have to follow step 6. If the highest total cannot be determined, randomly select which player chooses which battlefield to fight on. So basically that can be anything from rolling a 6-sided die each, flipping a coin, playing rock, paper, scissors, whatever the two agree on, or whatever the judge says. Basically just now there's an official ruling on how to start the game if neither player has any dice in their starting character lineup. I don't think we'll ever actually see that, but it's nice to see it listed just in case we do. Alright, so next up we have an addition to the inherent dice ability section. ATRT came out this set. For those that don't know it, it has no symbols, just numbers. So it has a +1, a +1, a +2, a +2, and a +3 for 1 with a blank. And then its ability allows the modifier sides of this dice to be resolved with one of your trooper die, so showing any symbol. So it is now added onto the inherent dice abilities, which means if you have any way to roll that dice out without the card being on the field, that its ability still takes effect and isn't just basically a worthless dice, because without the ability you wouldn't be able to resolve it at all, it would just be there. So good for it to be there. Not sure that there will ever be a situation where it'll need to be, but if there is, now it's there. So alright guys, up next we have a couple of term updates. So diceless card is now defined as a card that has no matching dice, such as the Nightsisters zombie or such as the Hoth Troopers. And free was also added to the dictionary of the game as well. Basically now whenever a card or die is played or resolved for free, its cost is decreased to 0. So before, basically free was undefined in that you could either say that the cost of the card is blank, it costs nothing, or 0 as a number. It was always ruled to be cost of 0, just in case there's some card effects that deal with that. But now it's actually in the rules so that we have a place to point to if it ever comes up with any type of card interaction. This can be important for certain situations, like say for instance, Shadowcaster's die still costs a resource when it's cost you 0 resource, if that makes any sense. Because Shadowcaster reduces the amount that its die costs by the number of mods that are on it. When it has full mods, it still costs 0 resources, which allows certain dice to interact with its ability. So now the same thing happens whenever you play something for free as well. Alright, so now we're about to get on to some of the fun stuff, which is Errata. It was pretty simple with this update, the first one being an update to the Spirit of Rebellion Aftermath. So it was reprinted in Spark of Hope. We have it right here on the right with the original on the left. Basically, the update just makes the original Aftermath say the exact same thing as the old one. So now it reads, after a character is defeated, you may exhaust the support to gain 1 resource. Far less powerful than it used to be, but who knows, might still find a spot in some of these big, wide character decks, such as Ewoks. Alright, and we only had one other errata, which is more of a clarification than it is an errata, really. With Add Odds, for those of you that don't know, Add Odds allows you to remove a die showing a value that is an odd number. You can then place this event on the bottom of your deck. So this event is placed on the bottom of its owner's deck. So basically what this means is any time that an opponent would play At Odds from your deck or hand, such as say with Thrawn's ability, it still goes onto the bottom of your deck, not the Thrawn player's deck. So it will always go back basically to the bottom of the deck of the person who brought the card to the game. Alright, so now we're on to the last section of the update for the Rules Reference Guide, and this is all of the kind of clarifications for cards from the new set Spark of Hope. So first up in the list we have the B-Wing. Its ability is after the action phase begins, you may activate the support. The clarification being that this ability will trigger and resolve before the first turn is taken during the action phase. So it's basically just confirming that it happens before anything else, and not as part of the first turn. So for instance, if you have B-Wing under your control and you have control of the battlefield, you activate B-Wing, roll its die in, and then you would take your first turn. And vice versa, if your opponent has control of the battlefield, before they do anything, you would activate B-Wing and roll it in, and then they would have a chance to mitigate it or react to what it rolled. Alright, so next up is Crushing Advantage. Crushing Advantage is a 2-cost event that says if you have more character dice in your pool than an opponent has in their pool, remove one of that opponent's character dice. Repeat this for support dice and upgrade dice. So the clarification states that this event can remove 1 character's die, 1 support die, and 1 upgrade die. It cannot be used to remove 3 character dice. So if your opponent has 3 character dice out on the field, theoretically the way that people were reading it was that you could repeat the effect to remove those character dice up to 3 times. Whereas it was obviously meant to be a character, a upgrade, and a support. Next up is going to be Han Solo's dice, and this one is a 1-cost upgrade that has an ability saying after one of attached characters' character dice rolls a blank, you may exhaust this upgrade to re-roll it. Then, if this upgrade is on Han Solo, you may ready this upgrade. So the clarification is, while on Han Solo, you can keep using this ability until each of his character dice are no longer showing blanks. So what that means is you use the ability of Han Solo's dice to re-roll Han's character dice. You re-roll them, they roll back into blanks. You are then able to ready the Han Solo's dice card, and then activate it again to re-roll those dice and keep going again until Han Solo has no blanks showing. So effectively, once Han Solo has his dice on him, he can't roll blanks because they'll constantly get re-rolled into something else. Pretty good, really good, and honestly just makes the dice even more powerful. Alright, so next up is probably my favorite card of the set, just because of the scene and the artwork that it has, and that's going to be Lightspeed Assault. So Lightspeed Assault is a 0-cost event that reads, defeat one of your leader characters and discard a vehicle you control. Then discard an opponent's vehicle from play and deal indirect damage to them equal to the discarded vehicle's combined cost. The clarification says, if the opponent does not control a vehicle, deal indirect damage to them equal to the cost of your discarded vehicle. So basically it just means that you can now play this card when your opponent doesn't have any vehicles on the board and still get something out of it. If you've got a leader that's about to die and you've got a 3 or 4 cost support down that isn't doing you much good, maybe the damage will be a little bit more important, and being able to deal that damage to maybe close in the win as the game's coming into its final hours could be pretty important. So I'm glad that that clarification is in there. Alright, so next up is going to be an update on the Nightsisters zombies. So basically, they are a 5-cost character that says indirect damage dealt to you must be assigned to this character last. After you activate this character, you may spot another witch to deal 1 damage to a character that has a curse on. So the update is this character's first ability is ignored if it has the card target acquired on it, or if the controller controls no character other than Nightsister zombies. So basically, if you've got 5 Nightsister zombies, that first sentence is null and void. Indirect can be placed on any of them at any time. And also, target acquired overwrites the ability. So if you're playing against a Padme and you've got a bunch of zombies down, she can throw a target acquired down and start weeding them out. Not sure why, if ever, you'd want to do that, but you never know. Alright, next one is an update to old Daka herself, the person who creates the zombies. So she says after this character is defeated, set each Nightsister zombie you control aside. So the update is that the set aside zombies are not considered defeated. So basically, if you have 5 zombies on the board and you kill Daka, and then you go to time, the amount of damage that you would count for tiebreakers is only old Daka. None of the set-aside zombies that she would have created would count towards that tiebreaker unless they were killed previously. So if you kill a zombie and old Daka at the same time, the amount of damage done will be totaled up between the 2 of them. But if you kill old Daka without killing any zombies, then the other zombies may as well have not existed at all. Alright, next up is a clarification on the Talisman of Resurrection. So the Talisman of Resurrection has a special that gives you 2 resources and then allows you to spend resources equal to the point value of a defeated character to return it to play under your control. So the clarification on it is that you would be spending resources equal to the defeated character's point value used at the start of the game, ignoring card abilities. So beforehand there was a question of whether or not you could pay for the elite cost of a defeated character when they only came in with a single die to get both the dice back. The answer is no. If it started play as a single die character, then it would only return as a single die character, and vice versa. So no bringing back an elite Darth Vader as a single die to save some money. You've got to pay the full price for it. Alright, and then last but not least is going to be an update to the man Thrawn himself. So, Thrawn has an ability. After you activate this character, you may look at the top 4 cards of a deck. Then he has a power action, reveal the top 4 cards of an opponent's deck. You may play an event revealed this way and spot that opponent's cards as if they were yours. So the clarification reads, you must meet all play restrictions in order to play cards with his ability. Cards not played with his ability are placed back without changing their order. So no shuffling the cards around and deciding, alright, you're going to get this next turn, and no being able to play cards like easy pickings when there are no yellow characters to spot. Although, if I'm reading this right, if we look at Thrawn's ability, you may play an event revealed this way and spot that opponent's cards as if they were yours. I think that means that you can also spot your own yellow character if your opponent's yellow character is dead. I'm relatively sure. So, good to know. Alright guys, so that was it. We ended up getting a brand new restricted list, which could end up being very healthy for the game and stop major combos from happening. Things like Snoke Thrawn really stick out. If we had had the restricted list way back then, it probably wouldn't have stuck around for as long as it ended up doing. So I'm pretty happy with the majority of the changes. I do kind of wish that the droids hadn't been hit really before the game even got started, as I don't think the deck was quite unbeatable and had plenty of flaws with it, but hey, who am I to say really when I have some pretty limited testing experience with it. So, alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed. Feel free to give me some feedback on this. I'm probably going to be doing it anytime we get a good update or change to the rules reference or holocron. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.